Table Geometry Part 3. Real center-to-edge aiming ties directly in with the dimensions of a regulation table. Real CTE will not work on a table that has had its dimensions altered. You see, on a regulation table you have pockets that are specifically located, and those pocket locations represent right angles. In real center-to-edge aiming, the system systematically takes the player to shot lines that are directed toward right angles. So you can't be moving the pockets around. Now, in real center-to-edge aiming, when we look at the geometry of the table, there are three extremely critical angles that occur on a 2x1 table. The first one is this 45-degree angle that occurs from the side pocket right through that corner pocket. Now, the next angle is the 30-degree angle that runs from the back of the side pocket directly through the second diamond on this upper rail. Then you have the 15-degree angle that starts right in front of the side pocket and runs directly through this diamond on the first rail. Now 15 and 30 and 45 total 90, and there's a pocket up here in this corner. Now, these lines are very important in that they all route to this 90-degree corner. Now the 45 is very obvious. This line right here routes directly through the center of that pocket. The 30-degree line is not so obvious, but it gives us a real nice 4-rail route right around the table for connecting with that 90-degree angle. And then the 15-degree line is a very strong route for a 2-rail connection to this 90-degree line, 90-degree pocket. Now, when I pick up these numbers that represent angles concerning the geometry of the table, I'm going to place them up here, and now they're going to take on a different perspective. These numbers are very significant in the scheme of center-to-edge aiming, because these numbers represent perceptions. In CTE Pro 1, these numbers represent perceptions. If you would like to know how these numbers are derived, you can check out another YouTube video that goes into some detail as to how these numbers are derived. I would like to comment that the 15, 30, and 45 have no real connection of any kind to the 14, 30, and 49 within the context of the quarters system. Now, I'm going to shoot these balls into this corner, and I'm going to use the perceptions of real center-to-edge aiming. I'm going to start off by using the 15-degree perception in pocketing this ball directly in that pocket. Now, I'm going to use the left edge of the cue ball. I'm going to use full circle CTE, which is the most accurate and highest level of center-to-edge aiming. I'm going to shoot it one more time. This time I'm going to use the right edge of the cue ball. Now I'm just going to pick up the perfect perception. Now I'm going to continue shooting the yellow one using the 15-degree perception again, but this time I'm going to use an outside pivot. So I'm going to set up with the perfect perception, half tip from the outside. I'm using my eyes in a very normal manner here. Now when I pivot to center, the cue's slightly across my vision center. I'm going to do the same thing with the 9 ball for my right cut. Set up with the perfect 15, pivot to center. I'm going to continue with the 15 for the next 2 shots, but I'll be using an inside pivot. Once again, 15 from the inside. Now as I continue, I'm going to use a 30-degree perception for the next 2 shots. Make sure that ball will pass. So I'm going to use a 30 and inside. So I'm going to move into the perfect perception as established in full stance. Same thing for the 10, 30 and inside. Now as I pocket these last 2 balls, and I could use a 15 for this shot, You know, all shots can be made with a 15 or a 30 somewhere, and most of the time to the pocket you want to. But if I want to pocket these 2 balls in this 90-degree corner, the 15 or the 30 is not going to accomplish that, so I'm going to use the 45, and it will be from the outside. And the same thing for this shot. Now, there were a couple things that you might would have noticed during the shooting of these balls. You know, I don't have to get back and establish a contact point or a ghost ball type connection between the balls. The system is taking me to the shot line, and in doing so, it's taking me to a slight overcut. For each of these shots that were cut shots, the system takes me to a slight overcut. I discussed this and how I came to understand this during one of the chapters on my second DVD, so there's some real good research and study for those that are interested in learning more about that. I do have set up right here a cut to the side, and I have a ghost ball trainer here. So I'm going to set up on a 15 inside. So there's my 15 inside, and then when I pivot to center, it's absolutely clear that I'm in the slightest overcut in relation to the core of the ghost ball here. As I move this down to here, I have a 30 inside. So I'm going to set up on a 30 inside, full circle CTE. And then when I pivot to center, once again, I'm in the slightest overcut concerning the ghost ball. And then when I move here for this 45 inside, the same thing will occur. So I'm going to set up on my 45, pivot to center, and I'm in the slightest of overcut positions, which is desirable. I don't have to take into account when I'm shooting these cut shots, I don't have to take into account what's the overcut going to be. Do I need to put a little spin on it? The system takes me to center cue ball that puts me in the overcut position. When you start using real center to edge, and you connect with the system in the real way, center cue ball takes on a brand new level of meaning. And I want to make a couple more comments. There's several different stages of learning center to edge aiming, and I want to encourage everyone that's working with CTE Pro 1 to work to master basic center to edge aiming, because that's going to lead toward doing exactly what I'm doing at the highest level, except not only are you going to know the perceptions up here, you'll be able to know the perceptions in full stance. Now, in between basic CTE Pro 1, you're going to have a couple of stages of Pro 1. In Pro 1, you can drop down directly on the shot line, sighting directly down the cue. And then in Pro 1, chances are over time you're going to evolve into your Pro 1 full stance with an angled cue. So naturally you're going to start evolving into a pivoted cue. And then over time, with some understanding, you will know how to fall into an aim using an angled cue and establishing your position while doing so. But the ultimate, most accurate level is to pick up your perception at the closest source to the shot, which is in full stance, and then pivot to center. So, one last comment. It was 5 years ago last night that I unraveled CTE. There were 3 very important things that came together for me. I already had a real good understanding of the center to edge perception and the fact that an offset must occur. I was pretty well versed on pivoting techniques, and up until that point I'd read Hal Houell's document. You know, I can't say if I read it 15 times or 35 times, I don't know. But it was on this night, last night, 5 years ago, that I read Hal Houell's document one more time, and I went to the table. All 3 things came together, and for the first time I connected with real center to edge aiming. That's when I first understood that, yes, indeed, real center to edge aiming connects objectively with the right angles of a regulation table. And I would be remiss if I didn't throw out my great appreciation for Hal Houell and his wonderful contribution to the game of pool. He's no longer with us. He's resting in peace. So I certainly wouldn't be here doing this if it weren't for Hal, and you wouldn't be a benefactor of this information if it weren't for him as well. So have some good thoughts about what he has left us in the form of this wonderful aiming gift. Thank you very much. So long till the next time.